ex-royals, it's very difficult to form, well, a new brand, a new breed, as it were, particularly when you've been the darlings of that particular circuit. And as I pointed out recently in another video, the Duke and Duchess of Windsor had a lot of problems in trying to rebrand themselves. We forget that now when we look at all the pictures and the stories and the documentaries, and even a film made by Madonna a few years back, remember, which had an Oscar-winning song attached to it, I think, or a Grammy-winning song. People were fascinated by, as they said, one of the greatest romances of that particular century. But, great romances need to be propped up, literally, in the celebrity circuit. And Wallis Simpson and the ex-king were no different. As I pointed out, they were seen as relics of a particular past. And really, Wallis had tried to update her look, but she was ever sort of nailed into that quite severe look that she'd already, well, made her own, some people might suggest. And other people pointed out that the former king really was quite sour and dour, and his whole life was just a perpetual round of cocktail parties, meeting and greeting, and talking about his short tenure as, of course, the King of the United Kingdom, the Commonwealth. But he had other plans, or more importantly, so did she. As ever, let me explain. Morning, chums, nice to see you. Thank you so much for your time today. I hope you're well. It's interesting, isn't it? I know I often say this to you, but celebrity, I've worked in it many years, and it's a funny game, because if you fall into the pool of celebrity and you believe that, well, you should always be liked or whatever, there's a problem. But time moves on for everything, and it doesn't matter who you are. I mean, I would often think, and I'm sure many people out there may agree, that Marilyn Monroe is considered to be an icon, and tragically, she died at a very young age with her beauty intact, as did, let's not forget, Jane Mansfield also. But then we had the brilliant Elvis Presley, only 42 years old, and would he have made another comeback and changed his life again? Who knows, because they are literally immortalized in time. Buddy Holly, there's so many, when you think about it. But when you are a living legend, as it were, like the Duke and Duchess of Windsor, you have to try new things. And one of the problems that they had, which was very difficult, was to appeal to a younger market. You see, Wallis in particular felt that her world was sliding into obscurity. She didn't necessarily like the older people that the king, the ex-king, was now associating with. There was no chance of coming back here to the United Kingdom and kick-starting their world, so they had to find new ways. And they did employ publicity chiefs, ex-staff that had worked on all the big studios by the middle to late 50s. There were lots of them around. Famous ones, of course, like Howard Strickland from MGM, David Brown, literally from Fox. They were all looking for ideas and a way to put you back into the spotlight without it looking so desperate. As I told you, they popped up on Edward R. Murrow's big person-to-person TV show. But the other idea, and it's fascinating when you find the documents, is simply this. You see, what they wanted to do was have like either a big event, a charitable event, and invite all the big stars of the moment. But there was an even better one. As they were living in the Waldorf Astoria Hotel for free, and as I mentioned also previously, they decided that, the staff photographer could take these sort of, undisclosed pictures of them, but with their full approval, knowing exactly the sort of diamonds that Wallis was wearing, the dress, the hairstyle, the couture, everything had to be agreed in advance. She was, at points, rather difficult regarding her image. But what they wanted to do was get, pictured with the modern young bucks of the day. And the people that they were being offered, while they liked them, well, they weren't the right people. You see, they wanted, as I say, to connect with a younger audience. And so Wallis drew up, alongside the former king, a list of people. And they included major stars of that era, like Marlon Brando, Rock Hudson, Marilyn Monroe, and even Elvis Presley. And the idea really was that they would be invited to stay at the Waldorf, and then, rather just caught off guard, they would meet the former royals. And that way they wouldn't need, of course, to either persuade them or indeed pay them, because this would get into the media. And suddenly the young kids of today would think, wow, these people move with the times, they're with the movers and shakers. But many people got very wise. Marlon Brando, it was a definite no, he didn't see a benefit for that. James Dean, equally, was not keen, because he was certainly a man of his own, and Rock Hudson at this point didn't want any more scandal attached to him. You see, the idea was that, of course, all these young guys apparently were going to be fascinated by Wallis. Marilyn Monroe turned down 4 invitations, even though she was a regular guest and stayer at the Waldorf Astoria. You see, what they realised was that people were just, and to put it in another way, simply trying to use their celebrity to bolster up their former celebrity. And basically what happened then was a lot of these people came and went, the publicity people. They were always trying new people to try and, as I say, resurrect their profile, their celebrity, their career. Remind you of anybody? And then when that failed, they basically said, well, you know what? People will eventually come to us. But none of the aforementioned, including the publicity-hungry Jane Mansfield, didn't want to know. There was a reason behind that, though. That is, of course, because eventually all of these people were lucky enough to meet the real royals over here for their film premieres, command performances by royal command. And they didn't want to jeopardize that in that time because it would have been seen as a bad thing by being pictured with the 2 ex-royals. So the likes of Jane Mansfield, Joan Crawford, Victor Mature, everybody decided that actually we'll give these people something of a wide berth. And interestingly, that's exactly how the celebrity of Wallis and David, Edward and Mrs. Simpson, finally did sort of, well, collapse. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.